Am I the a-hole for getting a new nurse fired for accusing me of having an affair with my father? I am a hospital social worker at a small hospital. My dad is one of the ER day shift charge nurses. A few weeks ago, I was in the ER trying to figure out placement for an elderly patient. When I was leaving, I had a chat with my dad in the hallway. Before I left, he gave me a hug and told me not to be late for dinner. I joked about how I'm going to order the most expensive steak on the menu since it's his turn to pay. I am 27 female, my dad is 51 male. There was a new nurse at the nurse's station nearby. Pretty much everyone knows that he's my dad. I hadn't spoken with this new nurse much though, and she didn't know. Apparently, she thought my dad and I were having an affair based on what she heard and saw. She knew my dad's married to my mom, who brings him lunch sometimes. She immediately began gossiping to some of the other staff that my dad is having an affair with the hospital's social worker, aka me. One older nurse that I've known for a long time immediately came to tell me. I don't think she liked this new nurse very much. I guess no one decided to tell her that he's my dad. I hate gossipers. I don't know what it is about nurses, but I swear to God, some of them really love to spread rumors. I decided not to take it up with her and just went straight to HR. We were both asked to come to HR after our shift was over, along with my dad. Now the HR lady knew that he's my father. When the new nurse came in, she was asked to explain, and she said that she thinks it's terrible that we would so blatantly have an affair, and she was shocked because she thought my dad seemed like such a nice guy. My dad then decided to speak up and explain that I'm his child. The new nurse was mortified and apologized profusely. The HR lady asked me and my dad to leave. They had a meeting with the unit manager, and it was decided that the new nurse would be fired immediately because she was still in her 90-day probationary period. My mom thinks I'm a jerk and that I should have just brought it up to the nurse instead of bringing it to HR, when I knew she would probably get fired. I think my mom is also sympathetic because she stalked the woman's Facebook and saw she's a single mom or whatever. I think I was right to get her fired because the hospital doesn't need a bunch of nurses sitting on their butts gossiping instead of doing their jobs. My dad is embarrassed and feels awkward about the whole thing. It's not the first time someone has thought I was dating my dad. We aren't weird or anything, but it happens. Anywho, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If you would have handled it privately, she would have just moved on to the next round of gossiping about co-workers. Now she might learn to keep her opinions to herself. Yeah, how hard is it to say they seem friendly? Or ask, how do they know each other? Instead of, oh my god, an affair. Right? Like could have just asked, oh, who's that? She jumped headfirst into the most nefarious scenario to create drama. Not the a-hole. I doubt this was the only reason she was fired. The real hint on this is the other nurses not telling her and letting her tie her own noose. I agree that's very telling. If almost everyone knows OP and her dad are related, and none of them decided to tell new nurse when she was gossiping, she already had pissed other employees off for them to not tell her. If she's gossiping openly about her co-workers, what is she saying about her patients? What private info is she releasing? You were right in going to HR. You didn't get her fired. She got herself fired because they realized that she was untrustworthy and a possible lawsuit if she released private info. Not the a-hole. Exactly. As healthcare professionals, we have a responsibility to maintain patient confidentiality and uphold a professional work environment. Her behavior was completely unacceptable, and I'm glad HR took swift action. It's not about being harsh or mean, it's about ensuring our hospital provides a safe and respectful space for patients and staff. Next story. Am I the a-hole for embarrassing my coworker by outing her as the one who keeps stealing my tea? So, I, 28 female, work in a pretty chill office. We've got a shared kitchen area with a take one, leave one vibe for snacks and drinks. People leave extra granola bars, packets of oatmeal, all that. Cool, but the unspoken rule is, if it's labeled, leave it alone. Anyway, I'm kind of a tea snob, and I bring my own imported stuff from this place my grandma used to order from the UK. I keep a little box of it in the kitchen cabinet with a big label on it that says, "My name's Tea, please do not take," smiley face. Except, someone's been taking it. Not just 1 or 2 bags. Half the box disappeared in a week. So I did what any mildly unhinged office girlie would do. I slipped a few decoy bags into the box and soaked the tags in fish sauce overnight. Dried them, resealed the wrappers, waited. 2 days later, one of my co-workers, we'll call her Tina 31 female, comes storming out of the kitchen, gagging and asking if someone tampered with the tea. I stayed quiet until she said, "I don't know who buys that weird brand, but it tastes like a literal fish tank." And I said, "Oh, that's mine, the one with my name on it." She went pale, dead silent, and then mumbled something about not seeing the label. Now she's mad, telling everyone I set her up and that it was a malicious prank, when all I did was booby-trap my own tea. HR hasn't said anything yet, but some people think I crossed the line. I didn't put anything dangerous in it, I just made it gross. And honestly, if you're gonna steal tea from a labeled box, you deserve the fishy consequences. So, am I the a-hole for basically tricking her into exposing herself? Not the a-hole, that's hilarious. And save allergies, not dangerous. If she was concerned about allergies, she wouldn't be stealing tea anyway. This massage therapist that rented a room in the doctor's office that I used to work in would take my stuff sometimes. I didn't mind for the most part because she was an old family friend, and I knew her. The only thing was, she would get upset if I even touched her stuff. Whatever. One day, she took my bottled iced mango green tea and drank it on a day that I wasn't there. She's allergic to mango and was telling me how she had a slight reaction. It's a branded store-bought bottle that was clearly labeled to have mango. It was a selling point. It's why I bought that tea. I responded with, "Well, it's nice to know it has actual mango in there. And as a person with allergies, I would never do anything like that." I was kind of shocked that she did do that. After that, she didn't take my personal items as much. Not the a-hole. I hate entitled people who steal food. I solved this problem by never using shared areas, because if you can contaminate your own food, other people can cough, touch, or steal your food. Too many years working with gross people, I just can't do it anymore. Why isn't the next step asking HR the following? If they steal food from coworkers, what else will they steal from the company? Thieves get coddled. My grandpa resigned his post as treasurer at the Elks Lodge because he successfully did a sting on one of the bartenders. She was taking hundreds of dollars. But the lodge didn't want to raise a fuss. He said, "The books don't square unless you prosecute." They did the non-committal shrug response, so he resigned. He'd been there 20 years, had his head on the wall of heroes, and they chose a thief bartender over him. Their loss, he joined the Legion and had a lot more fun, even if their kitchen was tiny. His drinking picked up, which wasn't great, but it was close to the house, so I'd pick him up. We held the 50th wedding anniversary and his wake there. The Elks Lodge had a full commercial kitchen, and he helped out there a lot too. His picture on the wall of heroes was earned through hard work and community building, and none of it mattered. Don't rock the boat is some messed up, repugnant nonsense. Next story. Am I the a-hole for humiliating my husband's lifelong friend after she insulted my parenting style in my own home? I, 29 female, have been married to Leo, 31 male, for 5 years, and we have a 5-year-old daughter and a 10-month-old son. Leo's childhood friend, Sarah, has always been part of his life. I've tried to be polite with her, even though she has a habit of making snarky comments about me whenever she gets the chance. Since Leo is a pretty reserved person and doesn't have many close friends, I just let it slide for years. A couple of nights ago, we hosted a dinner party with some old friends, and Sarah came along. There was a fair bit of wine, and Sarah got tipsy enough to run her mouth. She started going on about how Leo had always told everyone he'd stay single until 35, and how wild it was that he'd married someone like me so soon. It made the whole table awkward. Leo tried to calm me down and asked me to brush it off because she was drunk. But it didn't stop there. Later that night, our daughter was playing on her tablet. She has mild sensory processing issues, and sometimes screen time helps her calm down. Sarah saw it and loudly said, "Wow, I can't believe you just throw a screen in front of your kid like that." If I had a child, I'd never let them rot their brain with that garbage. That was my breaking point. I told her to shut her mouth and mind her own business. I reminded her that this was my house, my family, and my child, and she was in no position to judge anyone's parenting, while she couldn't even manage to hold down a relationship or live with someone other than her cats. She burst into tears and left shortly after, and most of the guests followed. Since then, Leo has told me he gets why I was upset, but thinks I was way too harsh, especially given Sarah has had depression since her ex-fiancé cheated on her a couple of years ago. Her friends have been texting me, telling me I'm a monster and demanding I apologize. I blocked them. I don't really feel bad. Sarah has made countless passive-aggressive digs for years, and this was just the final straw. When I told Leo about all her other subtle insults that he never noticed, he was stunned. He ended up blocking her too, and now some of their old friend group is torn apart. Still, a little voice in my head wonders if I went too far by throwing her personal life back in her face. Sarah is clearly struggling, but she kept poking at me and my parenting. Am I the a-hole for finally snapping and telling her off? Not the a-hole, and have a block party. Block and delete anyone who says you should apologize. They are not your friends. She's jealous he didn't pick her. Not the a-hole. Protect your babies and open his eyes to what she's been doing. Thank you. I'm already on block and delete mode. No regrets. Anyone defending her doesn't care about my family's well-being. I'm done keeping quiet. And you're right. My kids and my marriage come first. A couple of years ago, she doesn't get a free pass to be an a-hole whenever she wants because someone got sick of her 2 years ago. Not the a-hole. The fact that she's doubled down makes it even worse. If she can't stop running her mouth when she drinks, that's on her. Right? 2 years is plenty of time to work on healing, not to use it as a pass to treat people like crap. I'm done excusing her behavior. If she can't handle her own words, maybe she should rethink drinking so much. Thanks for backing me up. Not the a-hole. Leo is partially at fault for allowing it to get to this point, but it also sounds like you weren't communicating everything that was happening with Sarah in real time. I understand you didn't want to interfere in his friendships, but that's only valid as long as they are not trying to interfere in your marriage, which is something she's been trying to do all along from the sound of it. More communication all the way along would have been damage control. You said Leo doesn't have many close friends aside from Sarah, so I'm not sure about the significance of the rest of their friend group being torn. Hopefully this clarifies for Leo who his true friends are. He can stop investing in the rest of them. Generally in adulthood, if you have just a few solid ride-or-die friendships, you're doing all right. Totally fair. I see now that I should have spoken up way earlier instead of trying to keep the peace. It probably would have saved a lot of drama. You're right that real friends don't act like Sarah, and hopefully this helps Leo see who's actually worth keeping around. Thanks for laying it out so clearly. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my flatmate use my balcony? I, female, moved to another city to go to uni and rented out a room in my flat since it had been empty. The girl who moved in is a friend of my ex, but she's very sweet toward me and we always got along well. My ex and I don't speak anymore, but I thought we could all be grown-ups and respect each other. Also, at first, she didn't seem too involved in the whole situation and had always been pretty neutral. I furnished the whole flat myself, and we set up a contract stating explicitly which rooms are common areas and what she can use. This includes the kitchen, bathroom, corridor, and her room. Of course, she can use everything freely such as dishes, dishwasher, washing machine, etc. My room is bigger and has a balcony, not listed as a common area, since it's only accessible through my room, which I have always been transparent about. She still agreed to the conditions and price, and had initially been fine with everything. When she moved in, the balcony didn't have any furniture yet, but a month ago I had finally saved up enough money to create a cozy space there. We always got along well and sometimes hung out together in my room. I saw that she had noticed the furniture on the balcony. I had gotten a grill, some chairs, and a table. The problem started after a while, when she asked if my ex could throw a party in my flat while I was traveling. I immediately told her no, and she was very understanding. But after that, I had a bad feeling and started locking my door every time I left the flat for a few days. A few days ago, I stayed in my hometown and got a text at almost 1 in the morning, asking why my room was locked and saying that she wanted to have her dinner on the balcony earlier but couldn't access it. She texted me this all casually. as if it was totally obvious for her to go into my room. I told her that the balcony and my room are my private space and I didn't want anyone there. She got a bit mad and said that it was only fair for her to access the balcony since she has been paying the same rent price as me. She said that means she should be able to access the balcony. Now she wants me to keep my door unlocked so she can use the balcony. Quote, especially since I will be traveling during the summer and no one would use it otherwise. Here's my opinion. I rented out one room in my flat and we set a contract where I explicitly stated which rooms were available for everyone. She agreed to the conditions and the price. If she had thought it was an unfair price, she could have said no. Now, after a few months, she feels entitled to access other rooms. I told her no, and she got mad, even after I offered for us to use the balcony together while I was home. I offered that we have a barbecue together or just have breakfast on the balcony. Nope, she wants to have access to it while I'm out of town, which means I would have to keep my room unlocked. I think it's a complete invasion of privacy, and I don't want to give up my privacy for someone else's comfort. I also don't want her there because she treats my things with zero respect and already broke a few smaller things without replacing them. But still, I feel kind of petty and mean. Since I've always been a people pleaser and she's always been super kind to me, respected all the rules, etc. I don't want bad blood between us. Am I the a-hole for telling her no? Not the a-hole. She knew that she was only renting one room, but I am certain she has your ex over while you're not there. I'm also certain she's having other people over and portraying that entire space as hers. In order to keep your peace and your sanity, I would consider seeing if it's a month-to-month lease and telling her that you're not renewing. She needs to go. Get her attitude as soon as you can and find someone else to rent that room with no ties to your ex. Most people understand boundaries. Totally agree. If she's already crossing boundaries now, it's only going to get worse. Best to find someone with no drama attached. I would say the following. The agreed-upon contract includes your bedroom, the corridor to your bedroom, access to the second bathroom, and access and use of the kitchen and living room area. The agreement does not, and never has, included my private bedroom space or access to the balcony, which can only be reached via my private bedroom. If you no longer find the lease terms to be agreeable, you can submit your 30 days notice to move out without any financial penalty. Accessing spaces that are not included in our agreement will result in the termination of said agreement, and you will be given a 30-day notice to vacate the premises. Don't even play with this stupid nonsense. You agreed to rent the room, not your private bedroom and balcony. She knows what she agreed to, and you need to hold firm to that, not the a-hole.